we live in such an on-demand culture these days, and everything needs to be a couple of clicks. Otherwise, we get bored and distracted and move off it. So I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Just thinking about, we've talked about engagement there, and thinking about the data. And again, this is a bit of a off topic question, but in relation to the different demographics, have you seen the sustainable use of different resources increase over that period of time? I.e., are different people from different demographics using different resources within the Benefex suite, and are they continually using it? It's back to the engagement piece.
So, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've managed lots of different roles through Benefex, building the technology, designing the products, selling the products, marketing the products, running customer success. And across all of that, I can confidently tell you to take any assumptions and generational information you have and put it completely in the bin and don't listen to any of it. The way older people engage with technology, the way younger people engage in technology is no different. There is a lot of evidence to back this up. So what we are really focused on is the fact that, when I first got into this industry, you'd have this typical life cycle, which would see an employee go through university, first job, meeting a girl, falling in love, getting married, having a kid, progressing their career. That is not indicative of most people's lives now. Less than 20% of this country, less than 20% of Europe identifies as a nuclear family. So any assumptions we have about anybody and what they're doing in their life attached to their age means absolutely nothing. But we should be focusing on how do we help people through life stages. So when people will inevitably probably go through purchasing of a new home, which might be early 20s, it might be early 40s, especially if you're living in central London, and how do we help people through those life stages? And how do we, importantly, react really quickly to those changes? So if somebody goes through divorce tomorrow, what support is available to them? If a woman goes through the menopause tomorrow, what support is available to them? And focusing more on those lifestyle changes and those kind of pinpoint points in somebody's life rather than their age or in many cases, their gender.
Very useful bit of advice there, Gethin. Thank you. Before I ask you one more question, if anyone's got any questions for Gethin around the topic of employee benefits and we're talking about now, please put them in the chat box. In about 2 minutes, I'll come to that chat box and pick those questions up. So, Gethin, last question I've got for you right now is the title of this session, which is, what's the one thing you think employers are getting wrong with about their benefit schemes at the moment?
I think the most obvious one is that we don't ask employees what they want, and we don't ask them regularly enough because our lives change, right? So if you think about employee surveys, people ask employee surveys on a typically annual basis. Still a large portion of employers throughout Europe ask employees on an annual basis, how do you feel about all these different things? If you'd surveyed all of those people in February 2020 and got those answers and that informed your strategy for the rest of 2020, it would have meant absolutely nothing because the world completely changed a few months later. So asking people about their benefit schemes, I think, is no different. We labour under the illusion that things like well-being is a problem to be solved, but it's an ongoing challenge. So when we're offering benefits and we're asking people what they want to see, we put those in place, but we need to then make sure, are they still serving you? Are they still giving you what you need? Has it developed? Should we be looking at other things? And that constant evolution of reward and benefit strategies and well-being strategies is something that I think employers don't focus on enough. And also by asking employees what they want to see in schemes and just keep kind of going in on them very quickly and making sure that what they offer is really useful to them. There's a really great study by some researchers at Harvard University a couple of years ago, which they called the IKEA effect. And that's the idea that when employees are involved in the building of something, they place its intrinsic value as higher. So once they're involved in this stuff. And so what happens is when employees are designing the employee benefit scheme, when they're choosing the benefits, they're actually engaging with it more and encouraging others to engage in it more. And I think, understanding things like that, understanding behavioral science, which is a big part of my job now, is, how do we get people to change habits? How do we get people to form habits? And I think that collectively is putting us in this place where traditionally employee benefits have been a pretty passive list of things that, these are all the great things we offer, Ash. You come in, choose whatever you think is right for you, job done. But actually, we're now in this space where we have to go to people and actively pull them in and tell them, why is this benefit important to you? We think you've had this problem. You've just given birth. You've just moved house. If we know that stuff, how are we using that to say, because of those changing circumstances, here is something we can do to support you? And benefit providers like Benefex, who have that very rich data, can automate that actively. So if you're on our platform, for example, and you've just finished your first 100 days working for your employer, that will trigger us to have some conversations with you about how your benefit scheme might evolve and some new things that might be available for you.
And so this is where co-creation is so important, and this is where in the next part of the QA in a few moments, I'll be asking Jess about a similar question around how co-creation has played a part in shaping and reviewing their employee benefit program. So, Gethin, no questions have come in because I think you answered one of the questions someone's about to type. So, to wrap up on your section, can you share a little bit more about the work Benefex has been doing in terms of the research, the new reward director that's recently been published? And I've got a slide you shared with me you'd like to share.
Yeah. So Benefex has just published some new research called the new reward director. What we've discovered during that research is that benefits require and reward requires very careful investment and consideration. What we've been able to find out is that employers' benefit spends in the US now cost around 30% of payroll, so significant cost that people are paying into benefits. In the UK and most of the EU, that figure is probably more like 20 to 25%, but still a significant portion. And I'm not entirely sure that employees themselves and most C-suites really understand how important benefits are as a driver of organisational success. And this image is based off a model by World at Work, which I've kind of modified, but it starts to show you that actually employee benefits are driving success within an organisation. And we have evidence just from the last 2 years that show that benefits are positively associated with employee work attitudes and commitment. Benefits are now one of the major factors that impact work motivation. There are very strong relationship and correlations between productivity and the benefits that are on offer. And benefits have kind of shown that they've been pretty significant for employee motivation and retention as we've gone through the pandemic. And I think although the effective size of any single benefit on employees' kind of attitudes and behaviours is likely to be quite small, collectively, especially for a large organisation, that can have a pretty substantial impact on organisational outcomes. And so I think what we're now seeing is the return of the employee value proposition, where it's basically saying, what is the deal when I come and work with you? I'm going to come and give you my ideas, my innovation, my effort. What am I going to get back? And so what you start to see then is actually employees are saying, it's not just the money I get from you, it's not just the benefits, but how are you going to take care of me? And if I do go through a divorce, or my husband or wife dies, or I have a challenging situation with my children, how is my employer going to be there? And that plays such a wide part on innovation, productivity, organizational commitment. So reward and benefits are not just about rewarding people. This is about creating more successful organizations.
And I think just to sum up there, this is where for a number of years now, there's this debate of when implementing wellbeing or employee benefits programs, it's what's that ROI, what's the return on investment, but also the VOI, the value of investment, how's it affecting how people feel and are doing day to day. And this is where, in terms of approaching your employee benefit strategy, it's how do you, and now with data and insight and improved technology, you can get to a better position in answering both that ROI question, but also that value question back to the individual employee and their families.
Yeah, our research referred to that as a return on experience being a much better measure. So actually, what is the impact on the business? So forget the old metrics of absence rates and turnover, because I'm never quite sure that really tells you the thing you did was successful or not. Because the reality is we could offer loads of great benefits, but if somebody hates their manager and doesn't think their manager cares about them, they're not going to have a great experience at work. But if we can get managers to understand the importance of well-being to the organisation, the importance of well-being when we design policy, when we go through onboarding processes, the part that autonomy and development play in well-being, much more significant than any benefits that you offer. When people get to grips with that, then benefits become a strong driver and a complement to that, but benefits in themselves will not drive well-being in an organisation.